Hello and welcome to another episode of Retained on the GrowthAmped podcast channel. Today, I'm joined by James Onyx, founder and CEO of Ohana Advertising and Cheaper Conversions, two performance marketing agencies helping U.S. e-commerce and local service brands cut wasted ad spend, manage paid media and communities, developing creative assets, and scaling profitability. Based in Lisbon and running a senior-only flat fee team, James built his company based on transparency, proactive communication, and real results. Welcome, James.
Yes, I am. Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. So I know when you and I talked offline, you've got quite a story to share. So for our audience, we'd love for you to share a little bit about your journey and how your role has evolved, especially growing up in the States and then your move over to Europe. So yeah, please do share a little bit about your story.
Yeah, cool. So I moved from the States in 2013 and I moved to Bulgaria. At the time, I had a lot of local service experience. My stepfather has a construction company and with like landscaping and septic. So it's kind of like an all-in-one type thing. And then my dad has an auto shop repair. So both were local businesses that relied on local advertising to grow. Neither of them ever did it. It was something that I would always hear, like reading more leads, things like this, business to grow. So I kind of got into that field. I kind of built my own small moving company in Bulgaria. And I started doing ads for myself and I started getting leads and it was a lot easier than I anticipated. So I started doing it more and I worked for a beer company and I worked on them with branding, getting into local markets. And then I just started growing my marketing experience. And then in 2021, I started my agency through the help of a business group owner. He helped me get started. He saw the potential in what I was doing. He said, why don't you just build an agency with your expertise? Because I'd worked in another digital agency before. And I built Ohana Advertising. And then that was in 2021. And we've consistently grown year over year. And it's been a really great opportunity that I was provided with and it still is today. So yeah, that's how I got started originally.
That's awesome. So that's quite a journey to go from the US to Bulgaria and then through the motions and founding your own company. What led you to launch the other company, Cheaper Conversions, with your wife? And for someone hearing the name of your business for the first time, right? How do you describe what you do personally, day to day across both of them?
Okay. So for Cheaper Conversions, originally, I had played around with different pricing structures for my business because I had, obviously, when you do lead generation for an agency, you get a lot of different leads. And I found that the majority of the time, and obviously this could be just me being terrible at sales, but I met with a lot of business owners that really just couldn't afford it because their budgets were really quite low. They had a small team and they had limited amount of resources or even capacity to take on like an insane amount of leads to really grow their business, or maybe they just wanted to keep it at a certain level. And a lot of those people that I met, I really liked. And I didn't like that I was letting go, knowing that I could help them. And it was an opportunity. And when I tried adding that service into Ohana, I have a really white glove, really strong communication, a really like more of an in-house type service that I built with Ohana. And I felt that the amount of resources I was allocating was not matching the pricing I was trying to like provide to these like companies that really needed just like a cheaper service. And over the years, I've learned a lot on what goes into a company, what's the best way to make a marketing company grow, what are some of like the foundational, like the blueprint that you would need to, like, this is what you do from day one to grow. And since I had learned these things throughout the years, I felt that Ohana was kind of built as a local service business, even though I'm like abroad and my team is across different time zones. It still gives you that, like, we know who James is, we know who his team is, who the team members are. We work with them. They reach out to us. But I wanted to basically provide a service that matched the needs of a company that was smaller and had a smaller budget. Not everybody needs to be spoken to all the time. They don't need to have consistent touch points, or maybe their marketing system is so simple that they just really need a landing page and ad spend and they don't need everything, right? So that's when I tried to add that into Ohana, it didn't work. It was too expensive and it was like messing up the processes. Also could have been an operational thing I could have probably improved potentially. But when I started breaking them apart, it made it a lot easier for me to just like, oh, okay, what type of service are you looking for? Great. I have this company here. This is what we focus on. I think this would be a great fit for you. And it just allows us to really kind of like, okay, this company has its own process. The name of it is called Cheaper Conversions, like textbook. What's the best thing to call an agency? What people are actually looking for? Ohana, people were confused. Why did I name it Ohana? And there's 5 other Ohana agencies that I didn't realize were there until after I did mine. So I just kind of went with like the best practices in building this agency. And I felt that it was a bit easier knowing like, okay, if I had done all these things since day one, would it be a lot easier to grow it? So I'm kind of racing and building something in the side that I can see like how much I can grow it. And Ohana is more of a passion, like where I put my heart into type thing.
Sure. I think it definitely helps when you break it down like that. The one business that's got the whole menu and the other business that's focused more on the conversions and how do you get foot traffic or client traffic for your customers, right? And talking about learning, right? You've talked about learning the hard way that founders need a dedicated project manager from day one. So tell us a little bit about that and how did you build that out and how did that light bulb go off?
Yeah. So obviously, if you're a founder and you're listening to this and you're in your first year and you don't have a project manager yet, I would recommend doing it. But it's not like a necessary path forward. I just think it's the best, like something that I learned that I could have grown a lot faster if I had somebody who I could just hand off the operational work to instead of me being the operator as well. I could have just focused on building systems and I would have probably scaled faster, a lot faster. But that is basically why I think it would be a good idea to have somebody that can grow with the company. So obviously finding this person is extremely difficult. I mean, a good person, right? Like an A player is hard. But it would be, yeah, just basically to save yourself time, keep you in the mindset of a founder and a system builder instead of a system worker.
Yeah. For all the founders that are listening, right? It's strategic versus tactical, right, James? As founders, focus on the strategy and bring somebody in to run the technical, the day-to-day operational stuff so you can focus as a founder on growth while the other person takes the operational stuff off your plate. Is that fair?
Yeah, of course. No, I would say it's accurate. I think it's definitely important to, as a founder, to build systems and then put people in charge of those systems. And if the systems are built properly, they'll work. And then if they're working properly, the business is functioning. So it's definitely good too. And delegation is an important part of growing and development. So
yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the industry landscape and expand a little bit more about the positioning of your agency. So you've built Ohana's whole positioning around fixing what's broken with traditional agencies, right? Junior media buyers, percentage of spend pricing, slow communication. What are you seeing right now in the market that's making business owners more skeptical of agencies more than ever?
yes, this is something I encounter quite a lot. And I think with any industry that's oversaturated, I think it's definitely something that you'll encounter where there's a lot of bad taste left in people's mouths because there's so many options to choose from. And it just makes it harder to understand what's good. So I think that along with due diligence that may be slipping because of how accessible everything is. And people are so pressed for time that they kind of fail to do their own due diligence, which is obviously on the business owner and they should be accountable to this. But otherwise, for example, I'm working with a company now and they hired an SEO team and I saw what the SEO team did and they really did nothing. And she told me that they claimed to get them on the first page. And basically she was actually paying them to learn how to do this. And when you see the website, design wise, it looks fine. But there was no SEO considered at all. There was multiple H1 tags on every page. And this happens a lot where, well, you sound great. They're really good salesmen, but they don't have anything to really back it up. And I got caught in the crossfire of this quite a lot because I'm not going to push you to sale. Like, this is my offer. This is what I have if you want it. I have over 140 5-star reviews across multiple platforms. If that's not good enough for you, then that's it. You know, and I think that this attitude that I have, although it has caused me potential deals, the clients that I have are really amazing and I have a really good work culture. And the clients that I have they engage, they're respectful of time, and it just works really well. So I don't have stress. I'm not worrying about people messaging me at 2 a.m. So, I mean, I think that when you push people into decisions like this, one, they hold resentment towards the industry, and then it causes them to be really biased. Whereas, okay, now we're getting into philosophy of the mind, right? I think that as a human being, that if you make a bad decision, it's on you. Obviously, if somebody lied to you, okay, great. But like if you had done due diligence, like I was going to hire this company, I did hire this company one time and I didn't do due diligence. And then I realized after I hired them, when I started doing due diligence, that actually all their case studies were fake. And like if I had just put 30 minutes into research before I hired them, I probably would not have done it. And that's on me. It's not on them. They just presented something and I jumped and did it, you know? So, but people are people. So I think that this expert like madness thing, and I talk about it both in like one of my other videos on my website, is just, yeah, I think that too many people are claiming to be experts. People believe what they hear because it's easy. And because of that, they get burned. Then they become hyper vigilant. And it causes a lot of skepticism and bad taste in the mouth. So people kind of there's trends and waves that I've noticed that since when I first started the agency, people really wanted to working with agencies. And I rode that wave for a little bit, which is why it worked quite well. And then people started getting burned and after COVID, because everybody started an agency after they went through one YouTube video on how to make 30K a month, make 10K a month, So everybody started just doing this and they didn't have anything of real value to offer. And then people wanted to go with freelancers because they were tired of getting burned by these agencies. And now the agency wave is coming again. But AI is making this change. So I haven't seen where it's headed, but that's what I've noticed.
Sure. Yeah. There's so many operators being born every day. So it's hard to tell proverbially the men from the boys, right? And so I hear you. And when you started cheaper conversion, instead of just expanding Ohana service list and essentially creating a second menu for them, when we talk about the second venture, right? Cheaper conversions.
Yes.
And when you look back on that decision to found cheaper conversions, what do you think has really worked out versus what do you think what you would have done differently with regards to that entity, and what's the competition like?
Well, with Ohana, I really wanted a service where clients felt they were getting a higher level of service. Maybe I don't portray it this way, but if you end up working with me, this is what you get. And I realized that by trying to cater down, as I mentioned earlier, that when I tried to cater down, it kind of messed up the process. There was a lot of confusion between them, and building out an entire process was something that I didn't want to do. I wanted to keep Ohana, like Volkswagen owns Porsche. So they built out another industry like Volkswagen because they wanted something of high quality that they could offer to people with a budget. So yeah, I mean, that's basically the idea and why I did it. And I learned a lot of lessons from Ohana that might not necessarily apply to Ohana. And maybe there are reasons why I'm not a $30 million agency, for example. But with cheaper conversions, I can take all those lessons learned and apply them from the beginning. And it makes, ideally, I would become like a 7-8 figure brand. This is the idea for them, for cheaper conversions, but still providing expert management at the same time, because that's something that I don't want to, my name is attached to it and I don't want my name being associated with poor quality. Because it's,
So in that segment, let's call it its own segment where the offerings are lean, is there a lot of competitors out there that are trying to enter that space and creating noise? Or do you feel like there's a advantage of how you positioned it when you went to market with it that puts you ahead of the pack?
I think it's a good question. I'm not sure if I put myself ahead of the pack at all. I tried to differentiate myself slightly by getting expert management at a cheaper price. And I think that should resonate with people who understand what they're looking for. In terms of diversification of clientele, I'm not sure if I could probably do a better job of this, but I think that the types of niches that I'm going after, there's plenty of people who I can service who are looking for exactly what I'm offering. So, I mean, it's only 6 months old and it is something I do more or less on the side, even though the clients are getting exactly what they want, full service, full representation, et cetera. But with the industry and the competition, I have a few friends who have agencies that offer a bit cheaper. They are getting good results and they're doing exactly what I'm doing. But I found a way to just try to provide as much care without obviously cutting into profit, because it's a business. Yeah. So I would say I have really good friends who are crushing it, that are only charging $1,000 per month, for example, for ad management, but they're not getting the in between of the in-house versus what I'm offering with Ohana, but also completely detached. I reach out to them, I don't get a response. We still respond. We still value communication and transparency. It's just less bells and whistles and less touch points, which allows it to work. And yeah, we've had all the clients that have been with us, we've only lost one, and that was because of the time zone, because Australia is difficult to manage. But yeah, otherwise everyone stayed since the beginning. So clients have had for months since we started opening. So it's been fairly successful, I guess.
That's great retention, if you ask. Let's talk about ideal client profiles, right? For both businesses, right? What do those look like for each of the business units, your ideal customers?
Essentially the same. I would just say that the business size and demand for growth is different. Ohana, clients that are probably doing more than 3 million a year, ideally, as a local business, and that they're doing maybe altogether. This way they have money to invest in multiple strategies. They actually need to pay attention to marketing because they need to sustain growth and also develop it. And this requires more touch points, more attention, more creative insights and suggestions. So working with a team, hopping on strategic workshop calls, as opposed to just okay, these are the results you had last month. These are the numbers. Any questions? Okay, great. Talk to you later. And with cheaper conversions, it's more like, hey, I'm Bob. I have a plumbing business. I've been doing it for 20 years. I just need to get like 30 extra calls per month. This is my budget. Can I do that? And yeah, that's great. I would love to help you get 30 more calls per month because I really do actually care. And so yeah, those are kind of the differentiators.
That's really clear. So thank you for that. So given that you're based in Europe, while your clients are mostly US based, how is that a vantage point while serving American business owners? And how has it shaped how you think about client acquisition and where the best opportunities are?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So in terms of the time zone and how it's given me an advantage, the only places I like to work from with time zone differences would be California, because I can wake up at like 4 in the morning and get all of my work done by 1 p.m. And then I can enjoy the day in the sun. But also like living in Portugal, I can wake up, do everything I need to do, start work about like 1 o'clock, noon, 1 o'clock. And at that point, I've already gone to the gym. I've gone taken care of like water bill or something like this. And then I can end my day around 9 or 10, get to bed midnight. So it's allowed me to have a really calm schedule that I'm able to kind of enjoy life and not like rush all the time and miss things. I spend a lot of time with my daughter and my wife, and these things are important to me. And that's also why I named the company Ohana, because I wanted to make sure that family was something that I didn't like forget in that process. In terms of client acquisition, living abroad in general has really helped me to understand and appreciate different countries, different like working styles and priorities that each country has to offer. I think that doing business with Americans in general is better. I think that Americans have a better business culture socially, like in terms of like social culture, whereas Europe, work is something you do. And then like outside of work is like that, like life is outside of work, and where Americans, a lot of life is work. And that makes
Yeah.
it easy to like work with them because as an American myself, I also feel the need to work and I like it
Yeah.
and appreciate, and Americans also have this more of an appreciation for financial relationships. Like, oh, this is a service. This is how much it costs. Okay, that's good. Just like provide me with the results that I want. And obviously like there are, individuals that break this mold. But like, for example, Europe, it's more of an employment mindset. And when you get contracted through European clients, I feel you're not respected as a business owner working with their business. So that's something that I've learned, something that is an advantage, and something that's helped me appreciate.
In other words, it's more of a partner mindset working with US customers versus a vendor mindset working with Europeans. Would that be accurate?
Majorly, yes. I would say yes.
All right.
Not everybody applies. There's like, overlap on both sides, just to
Sure.
be fair there. Yes.
Well, awesome. Let's talk a little bit about looking ahead, right? If you look at the next 12 to 18 months across both the organizations, right? What's one challenge, if solved, would move the needle the most for you?
Sales. Yeah. I think I need to put somebody to do sales. But then I get these calls that are like, we love that we saw you, that we're speaking with you directly. And if I could focus only on sales, I guess I would appreciate it. So I either need to replace myself as a system builder or I need to replace myself in sales. And that's kind of the thing I've been juggling a bit.
So is it more of the step after marketing, right? Where you actually have to engage with the prospects to talk about what you deliver, how you deliver it, what your promise is. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I think, yes, I've been doing sales for a very long time. Even before I got into marketing, I was doing sales. And I guess I'm a bit burnt just for doing it for so long. It's just kind of like, blah, So I'm more like, this is what I have. This, like, do you want this? And I feel like people who are very straightforward, I'm very straightforward and direct. So most of my clients really appreciate this. I have had clients over the years that prefer the facade, but that's not me. So it didn't really work very, very long. You apply experience to my directness. And I think that's something that kind of like helps me with it. But in terms of like building it, I think I know my company the best and I know what I believe in. And I think when I believe in something and I know it, it's easier to sell. So people can see that and feel that, and the processes match that. But I'm also involved in the marketing strategy, the macro strategy, like how each account doing, like what are they working on, what's working, what's not working. So these are the 2 points that are inside the working in the business that I'm involved in that I think are keeping me potentially from reaching certain goals, but also it's part of the business I like. So I'm kind of floating in how big do I want to grow versus what is the real purpose and why I did this.
Yeah. Absolutely. While we're on the subject of sales, right? You've built a strong flat fee senior talent only model as a differentiator. As you scale, how do you protect that promise and the 1 to 3 hour Slack response time that you guys are very strongly advocate of? How does that not become a bottleneck on growth?
Yeah. So I read a book. I can't remember the name of it because I'm terrible at those things. But in the book, they were talking about these systems and developing and growing from, for example, the system that you have for like one to 3 people will work, but 3 to 8 people or 3 to 11, it won't work. So you have to develop a new process for 3 to 11, then 11 to 30, then 30 to 100. So I realized that if I wanted to grow, I should build a system that would fit for, 11 to 30, which is the size of the company I think I'd like to have. I don't think I'd like to have a 100-person company. I just don't think I'd want it, because then you kind of like lose the quality touch points, or you just have to hire so many managers to oversee and too many people to manage. There'd be too many people to manage in terms of like the quality. Cause like a lot of agencies, for example, that I've spoken to have people, media buyers that are doing 25 to like 40 accounts. And then they're like juniors or mids, they pull certain levers, and then they have like a higher level structure, like a senior who oversees like 20 accounts that they just do macro strategy on. And there's like different ways to structure it. But I found that it's in the system that I provided with the clients, with the transparency, that they're getting experts who have already optimized their own process and they built them. So one, the culture with the company is I don't micromanage. And this allows them to provide their own ideas and structure into accounts, which is why I hired them originally. And because of that, it has a really good relationship with the clients, but also it limits the amount of accounts they can take while providing quality service. So I found that the number is roughly 13 to 15. If like of Ohana clients, right? Cheaper conversion clients, we could probably do 25 or 30 and we could be completely fine, right? But with Ohana, so right now I'm building out a system to have a strategist in place, which would supplement me on the day to day. And then her and I would just brief, or her and I, as of right now it's a her and I will brief, go over the accounts, so that I can have like structured like standalone calls instead of like day to day going through and searching. So this would also help me to like still be involved, but also not having to like go back and forth. And this will help me to scale. So if I continue this, I just have to hire a new person to manage the ads. They can take 15 accounts. Per every 15 to 20 clients, I would need a new project manager. So in 10 more clients, I will need a new project manager to oversee those. And then for every 30 accounts, I would need a new strategist.
That makes sense. If we were to talk about your discovery process, right? It's pretty elaborate. The 30-question discovery process and tracking audit, right? You guys have. So while that's core to how you onboard for Ohana clients, right? What part of client acquisition is working well right now, and where do you feel there's untapped potential, whether it's how you generate leads or conversion to discovery calls?
So what's working well is I'm using freelancer platforms like Upwork and Fiverr and cold email. These 3 are providing me with the majority of my leads. I haven't figured out how to do referrals. Maybe my clients don't want to share me. I don't know. It's weird. I don't have contracts and they stay with me for years, but nobody has friends that own businesses. It's very strange. I think the untapped potential would be referrals, right? Somehow, or all the Instagram content videos about like referral business and like Alex Hormozy videos are just like skewed. But otherwise, that would probably be the most untapped area that I think I could probably get more leads. Also, I think that I have a disadvantage. Like you asked before about what are the advantages of being abroad. One of the disadvantages is that I can't just like knock on the door of a local business in upstate New York where I'm from and just be like, hey, I would love to do your marketing for you, which I think is probably limiting me to some degree because that's the type of person I am. So that's probably another untapped area is like locality. Otherwise, running paid ads to my business. I'm currently trying to develop my LinkedIn funnel so that I can get people reaching out to me, coming to see me as a marketing expert, and then seeing my like company page and being like, okay, this is an advertising company that is well known. They provide good results. Maybe I should reach out to them. So those are the 3 areas I think that are untapped. And the other ones are what's working.
That's really good insight. And I can see how if you were to have somebody like, and I don't want to say an intern, but somebody at a junior level that's getting started in life, right? Say, hey, you want some experience over the summer? Go knock these doors for me, right? And I'll give you 20% commission on every sale that you make. So I'll give you gas money, something like that. Or from a referral standpoint, right? Do you throw the clients a bone if they're able to refer you to their friends that end up signing up? So like 10% off their retainer or a $500 credit, something like that, to incentivize them to bring up Ohana at a dinner or at a mixer or a networking event or something like that where they become customer evangelists.
Yeah, I've considered this quite a lot. I don't know how this will come across. I firmly believe that if somebody's doing a good job and you believe in them and you actively choose to engage with them, if you have a friend who owns a business and that person ever mentions that they need help with marketing, like, oh, how's your business growing? Like we have one client who started with us at like 4 million and it's been like a little over a year and a half and he's at 6 million in revenue and he has like a 7 return on his ads for his local business, I think that it's a noticeable growth because now he's entering new areas. And I'm sure he has one friend who owns a business who's like, hey man, how are you growing? And he's like, oh, I'm doing ads. I think at that point, they should naturally just be like, yeah, this is what's happening. The law of reciprocation. So I believe in these things. I'm finding out, and due to your question, you've obviously pointed out that it's not working. So I should probably incentivize them. I don't know. I haven't actually tried incentivizing. So I'm not against it for any sort of financial reasons. I just don't, I kind of believe that if something is good, you share it. If it's not, then, so I could try
Absolutely.
that. I think the $500 off is good. I mean, people who I refer these to, they give me
Yeah.
500, I give them 500. So
Sure.
that's like, I guess it makes sense. I can try it. We can check back in and see how it works.
It's a new definition of ROI, return on incentive. So I just coined that.
It's a good idea. Okay, yeah, it's worth trying. So I can't be such an old grumpy man all the time, I guess. I need to open my mind a bit.
Yeah. When we talked prior to this recording that you had a client where you spent a weekend, you flew out, spent a weekend with them. These are one of your 20K a month retainer clients, and you built the type of relationship where you just stay with them. So that's very valuable. These type of clients that become your friends and you go golfing with, and they continue to keep you on because you're solving their problem, you're getting them growth. And how much of your growth today still comes from that kind of high touch relationship first approach versus more scalable, systematized acquisition?
Yeah, so I don't think I have a scalable, systematized acquisition channel. I really believe that it's really old school the way that I do it, which has its positives and negatives. But I think that this is why, and I said I wanted that like local business feel to like, I wanted to know the clients. I wanted to know that I'm helping. Like I helped this one company. He had a part-time person when he started and his business was doing like 10K in revenue. He had just started. And then now he has 4 full-time people. He moved facilities. He's supporting his family and growing his family. And I had a part in this. And it's something I feel very proud of. So that's something that I like to do, knowing. And I think that engaging with clients, I still reach out to all of my clients. I'm like, hey, how are things going? Let's hop on a call. Let's check in. Let's see what's going on. I think that this is one of the differentiators that you asked about earlier. What differentiates me? I think it's that I actually do care, which also has its upsides and downsides. But it would definitely be something that I believe sets me apart. And once people get to know me, I think they understand that my intentions are pure. So when I make suggestions, for example, they're more likely to take them. And I think that this has had a lot of positive impact on a lot of businesses.
If you could wave a magic wand and instantly solve one problem related to growth or efficiency across your businesses, right? What would it be and why?
I really hate building SOPs and micromanaging them. So I would probably wave a wand to have some sort of AI system automatically done. And but then at the same time, I would lose that touch point. Probably just consistent leads in a system that I own. So if I ever did sell the business, I could sell that system and not have to worry about it being built on my back. So that's like long-term growth. Yeah, that would probably be what I would like to change, would be the lead generation system. Because my Upwork account is based on me. Fiverr is based on me. Email, okay, that's like fine. But otherwise, yeah, I don't have a predictable lead generation system of ICP clients that I'm like, I don't have 30 sales calls per month, for example. So that would be probably the main thing.
Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that. If we were to talk about operational efficiency and long-term vision, right? Since we're on that subject of solving problems that require a magic wand type of solution. Between managing accounts, onboarding, reporting, and creative production, right? Including the static and AI video creative work that you offer to the higher tier customers. Where's your team spending time on things that don't in actuality move the revenue needle, but are time consuming and cost consuming activities?
There are none. I'm really thoughtful about this. If somebody is doing something that doesn't move the needle, then I hire somebody else to take care of that. So for example, copy recently has, because we have more clients and because of the Andromeda updates and a lot of that, we're doing a lot more creative testing and it's required a lot more focus on creative strategy in general. And I realized that they were spending a lot of time on this and some of them are not creative strategists, which I can't expect everybody to do that. So I'm getting more, I have a dedicated designer. And then I've allocated more resources to people to help with this, which is also part of the strategists that I hired. So that also saves them from having to do like for media buyers, for example, to go in where they used to respond all the time and give that quick responses because they're the ones actively managing the account. They know the answers the best. Certain questions that are not technical related can now be answered by somebody else. I track all the time, not mandatory in like a passive way. It also allows me to see what time is being spent on. I don't have enough data yet to really understand the full extent of that question because it's something that I built recently. But overall, I wouldn't say that. Probably the biggest time waster is when a client doesn't show up to the call and then nothing's getting done. Otherwise, things are pretty smooth. Margins are good. Things work.
Yeah. When you look at your onboarding activities, like your onboarding SOP, right? Is it pretty efficient and less time consuming and easy to onboard new customers?
Yes, it's predictable. It's easy. I don't even have to be involved.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, I do if I have time because like I don't have 30 sales calls per week, right? But if I have time to join an onboarding call, I will. And then this way I can like understand, make sure that like the team is on board. And that one call will help me to be aligned because it's like burned into my brain and I'm a pretty systematic person in general, like with my mind. So it allows me to just catch up with them, understand their goals. But yeah, the entire onboarding process was designed to sharpen the blade as much as possible so that we don't miss things later on. And because it's so detailed and thorough in the beginning, the relationship's really quite smooth.
That's good. So let's talk about the social aspect a little bit, right? You post fairly regularly on LinkedIn about things like mid-funnel content strategy, and you even host your own podcast that you share, Built Leadership, which is similar to what we do, like talking to founders and business leaders.
Mm-hmm.
From your standpoint, you said it's not as much as an acquisition funnel, but more about the conversations themselves, right?
Yes.
On that note, right, how does that philosophy carry over into how you think about content strategy and thought leadership for both the businesses?
Okay, so for cheaper conversions, we'll start with that. It's the easier question. So for thought leadership for cheaper conversions was to put somebody in charge. My wife wanted that position. So I said, okay, nepotism at its finest. So I gave her that she wanted, so I gave it to her. So basically she just checks in with me and I'm able to say, oh, best practices are based on what I've learned to do this. And it's made that process pretty smooth getting it started. The agency is probably much further ahead than I was at 6 months when I first started. So that's nice. And taking all the information that I've learned from working with other businesses and just like having that type of relationship with my wife where I can share these ideas and like, okay, this is what needs to be done. Yeah, we need to think this way. And then obviously, with all the books and leadership that I've gotten from mentors that I have, this has really allowed me to also strengthen my relationship with my wife, which is quite nice because we're able to speak to each other as partners, as lovers, as friends. And that's also helped me grow as a leader as well because I learned how to delegate ideas instead of just tasks and delegate like future thoughts. So that's something interesting. For Ohana, it's really helped me to craft the way that I work with my management team, like my project manager, my executive assistant, and then also my operations manager. Speaking to them, I have to guide them. I'm not a boss. I'm a team leader, so I have to guide them and make sure that the system is appropriate. And when something doesn't work, it's more of like, okay, why didn't this work? And what process led you to this decision? And that really helps me to one, grow as a leader as well, and also understand like what holes do I have? So when you ask me about efficiencies and like bottlenecks, I listen to my team and I actually, in the CRM that I built, I put a support channel where people share ideas anonymously or they can share their name about like what would be better if we did this. And this type of feedback has really helped me grow. So I think that me being open to feedback and thinking more as a leader has made Ohana work really well. And that type of influence has created a lot of trust with my staff and also with my clients because I think they recognize it as well. I had a client, I was very direct with them. They had core business problems that marketing could not solve. It could help. It's like, well, like putting, water over like a hole in a dam, it's going to break anyways. And I was really direct and they wrote me an email that they really appreciated how direct I was and how I approached the conversation and that I kept ego out of it. And I think that this was a really proud moment for me to recognize the growth that I had as an individual and also where the company was. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, it definitely did. If we are to talk about what metrics matter most to you, right, for gauging the health of the business itself, not just your CPA and return on ad spend, but agency level numbers like account retention, lead to close ratio, or capacity per media buyer, where do you feel you're at and where do you feel you might be flying a little blind metrics?
Yeah, I mean, business metrics. I definitely need to upgrade my financial overview system. It's archaic. It's the first one I built when I first started my agency and it just works, but I need to update it. I invested in some financial courses with a guy who helped me to understand business operations and business finances much better. So since I've met with him, I have seen the impact of his influence, but I also see that I need to update my system. So that's probably where I'm flying a bit blind is that the system's just old and it doesn't let me track goals very well. I think that goals are probably the KPI that I need to invest more time into. Otherwise, revenue per client, revenue per media buyer, who's investing the most time. I just started tracking all these things. So if you had asked me 2 months ago, I would say all of these metrics, like how much is each media buyer spending per client, which clients are taking up the most resources compared to like what their retainers are. I'm still gathering that information. So I'd probably say that's a blind spot. But otherwise, retention rates are the most important ones. And that's something I have very clean understanding. I know how long each client has been with us. I know what my average retention rates are. And this is like a key metric in any agency for true growth. You can close 100 clients per month, but if you can't retain them, then you're just like spending so much money in acquisition that you're probably losing profit on this. It's probably my KPIs and where I'm at and what I think.
Cool. As we come to the end of it, right? What's the long-term vision for both the organizations, and do you see them staying as two distinct brands? If yes, then what kind of partners or resources do you think will help get you there?
For Ohana, I think at some point I will need a creative director, most likely, based on the way that marketing is going. Someone younger, maybe like a younger Gen Z person. If I really think about it, I'll probably need somebody who really understands current marketing trends, who is involved in these scenes. I am a bit out of touch. I understand the development of social community is where marketing is heading. And I'm trying to obviously like get on board. I just added a new service, which I've been spending the last 3 weeks developing, but I just don't get it, to some degree. And that's like generational. That's fine. I can just hire somebody who does. So I think that'll be key for long-term growth, is putting somebody younger in who has a growth mindset and who is hungry. I think that this would be a really key person for me to find. I think it'll help me a lot. Otherwise, for cheaper conversions, I want to put the right people in place. I want to just purely delegate. I do not want to be involved at all, which I'm not. And I want to just make sure that standards are being upheld. And with that type of distance and looking at it from a large whole picture, it'll be easier for me to scale and develop that into a bigger brand. So I'd like to keep them distinct, focus Ohana over the next few years, and then find somebody who can replace me completely in operations, and I can just manage relationships with clients, which is something I'd rather do anyways. Like going to a guy's house or going to a baseball game with a client, inviting them out and then doing that. I would much rather have this type of relationship with clients and providing macro strategy and putting somebody who can manage the business after about 3 to 4 years. I believe I set as the goal, 2030. I want to have somebody managing the business that I delegate to.
That's good. Yeah, it looks like you need a chief of staff almost that is a younger version, a more, savvy and does a few things and walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yes. I think I found that person indirectly when I'm looking for an assistant. So I'm low-key training her at the moment. But I think it'll be an interesting idea to see what that'll turn into.
Oh, great. I'm glad you have, and we wish you nothing but good luck with getting that transition done as soon as you can, so you can focus on spending more time with family and with clients directly. So yeah, thank you for being part of this episode. And is there anything you would like to leave our audience with?
Yeah, thank you for listening. I hope I was able to provide some value while you were listening, and maybe it would help you to some extent. Otherwise, yeah, if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one to have a conversation about your business, or maybe you're looking for a mentor, who knows? You can reach out to me. My business is Ohana. My website is ohanameansbusiness.com, and my contact form goes directly to my email. So I'm pretty responsive. I'll get back to you. But yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you for sharing that. And we'll definitely have our audience check out your podcast as well. So that link will be in the description when this episode is published. So James, thank you again. Great having you. And hopefully we can bring you back in a few months or maybe next year and talk about, how things have moved forward. So
yes, hopefully they do move forward. Otherwise I might postpone it. But yes, ideally that would be great. And yeah, thank you so much for having me on and the questions. It was a really good reflection for me. So yeah, I appreciate the full picture view.
My pleasure. Thank you.